Well, we're going to have a big focus on the grass, two-turn long distance for the United States grass races, and some big ones this week. We've got the Sword Dancer at Saratoga. We've got the Arlington Million at Colonial as well. We're going to talk about both of them with a couple of the segments that you're used to. Hopefully, you'll find both of them both interesting and fun. We know Bailey is always fun, but I'll try to be fun too on Horse Sense this week. Sword Dancer, Arlington Million preview. Let's do it.
Welcome back to another episode of Horse Sense, and welcome if you're new. As always, I'm Bailey Armour, joined alongside with professional landscaper Scott Shapiro, talking about his favorite topic in the world this week is long on the turf races. And boy, do we have two doozies for you going on this week, as Scott mentioned in our cold intro there. The Sword Dancer at Saratoga and everyone's favorite Arlington Million, not at Arlington, at Colonial now for the third year. Is that right? This is the third time that they're doing it out there? I believe so.
Might be the fourth. Right now, it might be the third or fourth, but yeah, the Colonial Racing Festival, as it's
Colonial Racing Festival, as they like to call it. But alongside that, we've got plenty of great promotions going on this week that we'll talk about a little, and then you'll see on your screen here shortly. We've got some action out at Canterbury, some non-turf Arlington Million Sword Dancer stuff going on there. They've got their Minnesota Derby and Oaks. We've got Ellis Park Derby Day on Sunday with some Kentucky Downs preview action going on there. So we've got a bet 100, get 10 on that card. We've got some harness stuff. Really something for everybody going on this weekend. And if you haven't signed up for a Xpressbet account yet, truly, what are you waiting for? But you can sign up with our code HC250. That's going to get you some extra bonus cash in there as you work your way towards that $1,000 rewards level. So make sure you sign up for Xpressbet or Xpressbet with the code HC250 and check out all those promotions. And of course, as always, Scott's going to tell you about our tournaments.
Yeah, lots going on, but not the headliners aren't this week. So a lot of feeders, qualifiers, if you will, available. We're gearing up for the $1,000 King's Plate Challenge, though, next Saturday at Woodbine. So feeders for that should be a lot of fun up north of the border. And then doing my Saturday spaces this week. Oh, as always, go to the tournaments tab on Xpressbet.com for all the best options in the tournaments scene, if you will. Said if you will twice in this.
It's a good one. I mean, if they will.
I will if I could. And then my spaces I'll have once again 9 a.m. First timer, but not a friend of mine, but a first timer on the spaces. Bobby Shoemaker, very successful tournament player over the years. Nice. Looking forward to having him on from the great state of Texas. Well, Bailey, as we mentioned, it is time for a couple of big grass races coming up on Saturday. We're recording this on Thursday, and the first one we're talking about the Grade 1 Sword Dancer, 1.5 miles over the inner turf at Saratoga. And 9 horses entered, and there is a somewhat prohibitive favorite and a somewhat prohibitive second and third choice as well. Far Bridge, the 9-5 favorite. Hard to knock this son of English Channel. I'm almost wondering if you're going to try to make me talk you off him, because it might be tough. He's had quite a good run, as has his trainer, Miguel Clement, and he's never been off the board in 5 starts over this course. And then you've got the 3-1 second choice, number 5, Nation's Pride, opting for this race after winning the Arlington Million last year. I've got some questions whether he's as good as a 6-year-old. And then you've got the other Appleby runner who attracts Flavian Pratt, and he's making his first start in the States. That is El Cordobas. And then everybody else should be pretty big price in here. Curious if you're taking a swing or taking a layup.
I'm going to take kind of the fork in the road between these two, maybe top standouts there. I don't have anything creative to say about it. I would like to talk about the number 5, Nation's Pride. As you mentioned, our 3-1 second choice here, which... First question, do you think we'll get around that on race day as my resident odds guy?
I don't think it's too off. I think he'll be the second choice. I don't think he'll be the favorite. Yeah, I mean, roughly.
Okay, good. That makes me feel better. I I typically always like this horse when he ships over here for Charlie Appleby, and the fact that William is coming over is good. It's interesting to me that Pratt hops on the other Appleby here in this one, but we'll save that for another day. Looking at Charlie Appleby's statistics here, I mean, he's almost 30% off of this 61 to 180 day layoff, 25% in routes, 25% in graded stakes. He didn't do as well as I would have liked in the Pegasus World Cup turf the last time we saw him here stateside back at Gulfstream in January. He was in pretty good form at Maidan in March after that, but like they love putting him on that airplane, and he will pretty much go wherever they see fit. And I mean, he does show up and he does try, and I like the way that he has been going, but I think that's my biggest hindrance here, and definitely something that I would really appreciate your input on, and our audience's input, of course, in talking me off. Is the shipping and age too much of a concern here at the price that we're going to get?
I think so. I do. I think one thing interesting in the pro column is the Timeform US pace projector, which is what I go to first and then kind of break it down myself from there, knowing, maybe a little more intricacies, has the 5 Nations Pride on the lead in here and not a lot of pace. That pretty much tells you there's not a lot of pace. So I think that could benefit him. If he's loose on the lead, I would be a little bit worried, but that hasn't really been his running style. We'll see if that's his, if that's what William Buick, to your point before, but my concern is, he came over for the Pegasus, didn't run as fast a race as his top races over here. And in general, Charles Appleby, I mean, there was a point there a couple of years back where he was 50% or so when you bring these Godolphin horses over.
Yeah.
It hasn't been like that for him over here. If you can, for whatever reason, whether it's stock, he's still capable, but whether it's his stock, whether it's, he has it, whatever it is he was doing that was so successful in shipping these horses over, maybe things have changed, life changes. So that's my concern, is that I just don't think we're going to get Nation's Pride's best here, but he has run well over the surface in 2 starts with a win in a second. And when he runs his race, he likes to win. He's 11 for 22. My question is, I'm not creative at all. I think, I don't know how he's going to beat Far Bridge. I mean, unless it's trip aided, because this is just a horse that not only is in great form for a barn in great form, but, say what you will about Joel Rosario. He's ridden well at this meet, but he can be up and down at this late stage of the game for his career. But he rides this horse very well. And what he does most importantly in these long distance turf races in New York is he gets forward position, because as we know, there can be crawl fest. So I wouldn't be shocked if he puts Far Bridge on the lead here. And I don't know if I think Nation's Pride's going to run by him at any point. So that's kind of where I said I'm kind of a chalker in here.
No, I mean, I'm not mad about it at all. I think you're definitely right about some of these longer races, especially on the inner turf at Saratoga that we've seen. I mean, they practically look like they're walking. They've got to go 3 turns, and that's a long way to go. That's a long way to sustain that pace. But if anyone was going to do it, I think Farbridge is going to be the one.
I agree. I mean, I think Farbridge is the best horse in this division. Miguel's got the Deterministic as well for the shorter distances. He's sitting pretty chilly right now in upstate New York. Last week, we went through on applying angles, a new angle for the show, hopefully not new for many of you because it comes up a lot. That's, how to handle horses off the layoff. We talked about what both of us do kind of from a handicapping perspective. Hopefully some of you or all of you or a couple of you got something out of that. We're going to wheel back and we're going to talk about intent, or how you handicap a horse. Intent's kind of the wrong word. How do you handicap a horse trying the turf for the first time? You'll find out in a minute maybe why I said intent, because intent's important to me. But yeah, Bailey, the Arlington Million this year, not quite the race it used to be, but still $1 million. I think it's a lot stronger than the Beverly D and the Secretariat. You could argue there's some different ways to go in here. I don't know if it's grade 1 per se, but Integration, the 8-5 morning line favorite, Fort Washington, his stablemate, Cairo, the European import. But when it comes to the headliners and it comes to kind of the intrigue in this race, all eyes are going to be on last year's Derby winner, number 1 Mystic Dan, who made a last-second decision to hop on a plane for this race. Probably saw the field. Kenny McPeak not afraid to take chances. This will be his first start on anything but dirt. And let's talk about how we handle the handicapping or analyzing a horse like this. His chance chances, and maybe from a macro and micro perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that a horse making their first start on turf after a dirt career is not always necessarily an automatic toss for me. But there is a lot about this specific situation that honestly I just don't like. I think that for one, he's a little bit too old and he's a little bit too seasoned with 14 lifetime starts. I don't like seeing a horse try turf for the first time after 14 starts. If they're trying turf for the first time after like 3 to 5, maybe I would say that's about my window. They go to turf and then maybe they stick to turf, but you typically don't see very many horses that are going to run particularly well or even to their top form on both surfaces. I mean, we breed them kind of specifically for either dirt or turf. You don't necessarily breed horses for both purposes. And I don't think that this is a horse that is bred or trained or really pointed towards any turf surfaces. And, unfortunately, Kenny first time turf is 4% from 68 starts. His dirt to turf is 6% from 54 starts. Golden Cents specifically on the turf at Colonial are 6 for 63 for 11%. So these facts and figures and numbers here, I mean, you can look at them and interpret statistics and numbers plenty of different ways. But the way that I look at them is this is a major con for me. Nothing about this horse or this setup, even including that most recent turf work, tells me that he's going to be, an incredible turf horse. You can make the argument that this field is a little bit weaker than some other turf races. It's definitely weaker than the Sword Dancer and maybe weaker than others that he has faced. And obviously he is the classiest horse of the field here, but he's the classiest dirt horse. And this is very much not a dirt race. So in this instance, particularly Mystic Dan, first time on the turf is a toss for me.
Yeah, I think I see it pretty much similarly to you. I'll just kind of talk about my process, and it, 1, 2, 3, kind of will speak to the points that you brought up. The first one though is intent. More important than pedigree, more important than the trainer stats, is kind of what you spoke to. This horse has had 14 starts already. I'm not going to always make a specific amount of starts, but when I want to look and notice that this horse is at some point, maybe the plan was that he was a turf horse, right? And a lot of times there could be 2-year-olds, younger horses that try the dirt, maybe try the turf the first time out, or they can't get in a turf race, even though they're going to be, and they run on the dirt and they run pretty well. And they stay on the dirt because that's where the most money is to be made, especially as a young horse in America. And if they continue to run pretty well, they're going to continue to run on it and point to the biggest races. And, there could be a lot of races there where they run third and fourth, and then they get back on their preferred surface. That would be the kind of exception to what you were saying for me. Yeah. Mystic Dan does not fit that profile. He was, he overachieved in the Derby with a very good trip, and he, he's been good this year. I don't think he's been better than he was last year, but he's run some decent races. This feels just like, hey, why not? And Kenny McPeak has been known to take chances. So to me, the intent part is not there at all. 2, the pedigree. I don't see any reason to point to the pedigree to say he is going to move forward on the turf, right? I mean, the dam is Ma'am. She was 1 for 6 on the turf herself, a Colonel John mare. Not impossible for that pedigree to produce turf runners. Golden Cents on top. Certainly not the 1.25-mile turf pedigree that I am looking for in here. So that part is a. And then the trainer stats, you already went through them. You didn't, you mentioned a bunch of good ones other than the sample size, but I think you can go back longer than you did. And the same thing will hold true. Kenny McPeak, not necessarily a guy that moves horses up on the turf. So then the final question for me is, well, if I like that this horse particularly, I see something, maybe I'm not good at this, but other people are, turf hoof, things like that. I need a price, right? I need the price to make it worth the gamble that he's going to overcome all these question marks, that I normally look out for data and whatnot. And we're not going to get a price. He's the Derby winner. So
9 to 2 is not that. No.
Right. So to me, Mystic Dan is an easy horse to fade in here, even though I do think he has the right kind of running style in that he likes to be covered up right off of horses. And he should get a good trip in here. Brian Hernandez Jr. will not ride him overly or underly aggressively, but yeah, he's a fade for me as well.
Yeah, if they can stick to that rail, maybe. I mean, clearly we know that he likes to kind of keep him in that pocket, but it just feels very much too fish out of water for me personally.
Yeah, I agree. It doesn't. I mean, this was also it's pretty much out there. This was kind of a last second decision too, which really points to the fact that there's just a lot of questions here. It's the kind of race where if he beats you, he beats you, and it would be kind of cool if we saw him run well, right? I mean, from a fan perspective,
Sure. Yeah.
but I don't see it.
No, no. I mean, we spent so much time talking about how much we don't like Mystic Dan. Can you give us and our audience a horse that you do like in this race?
Yeah, I like Fort Washington. I think we're going to get an honest pace with Time Song, Runaway Storm, Vesting. I think Mystic Dan will be right in behind those horses. I think Integration's the one to beat. He's run very well over the surface for Shug, but he's going to take the most money. I think Fort Washington might have the last say. I really liked his effort on that Pimlico undercard when you were there for the dinner party.
Yes, I was. I'm going to take a stab just outside with the 7 Grand Sonata, Mandy Pope's horse, with Tyler Gaffleone coming in to ride. Jockey change since Irad will be at Saratoga. And I mean, he did win with Grand Sonata at the Kentucky Downs Turf Cup last fall, which is kind of an outlier in and of itself, the way that that course rides. But if he comes back to that form, maybe we'll have a nice payout.
Yeah, he's cross-centered in both races, but he's a very honest horse that at 8-1 would be a pretty good price.
As always, thank you so much for watching another episode of Horse Sense this week as we talked through the Sword Dancer at Saratoga and the Arlington Million at Colonial Downs. Make sure that you check out news.first.com for all of the blog posts and pics and everything from the likes of Scott, our editor-in-chief, Jeremy Plunk, who did a really nice write-up on the Arlington Million with some notes and analysis on the full field, and plenty more coming through on that webpage throughout the weekend as we kind of gear up for this big content weekend. That's news.first.com. And like I mentioned in our intro, if you haven't already signed up for FirstBet and Xpressbet yet, you can sign up still with that code HC250. That's H as in horse, C as in cents, just like our title here, HC250, and you'll get some extra bonus cash to get you going as we gear up for Travers in just a few weeks. Good luck this weekend, and we'll see you next time on Horse Sense.